What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and all I can say is I am finally absolutely 100% sick of it. Now, what am I sick of? Well, the video title kind of gave it away, but we'll get into it anyway. I am sick and absolutely fucking tired of idiot fanboys, which I've said before over and over and over again. I've mentioned in multiple videos how the actual blind idiotic fanboys just drive me mental, and I can't believe that they exist and that they have this mindset. But when it comes to something we've seen, especially over the last month or so, but maybe even a little bit further back, with the release of the Xbox One X, naturally, places have been analysing the games have been getting patches to harness the extra power, just like they did with the PS4 Pro, etc, etc. But I have finally just had enough. Now, what have I had enough of? I haven't had enough of the analyses, no, that's not a word, the different analysis, the multiple analysis, there you go, or just the actual breakdown and the improvements and all. That's perfectly fine. People use these resources, that's why they exist. They exist, they become popular, and that's why they continue to exist. But it's the absolutely stupidest thing. Yes, of course, okay, let's look at it this way. The Xbox One X is factually and technically, there's no doubt or argument about it, it's literally there, defined on paper and tech specs, that the Xbox One X is more powerful than the PS4 Pro. Now that might sound like me defending the Xbox One X, which I'm not, which we'll get to now in a minute, and it also might sound like I'm defending the PS4 Pro, which I'm also not, and we'll get to now in a minute. But what my point I'm trying to make is here, that all of these resources, now, this is all taken into consideration with the guys of you out there who are what I can only probably call you the silent minority at this point, because it just feels like there's so many loud fucking idiots out there at this point. But anyway, you guys that I'm going to call the silent minority, you guys are fine. I don't have a problem with you whatsoever. I have a problem with the absolute fucking idiots. The vocal, what feels like the vocal majority at this point. So, naturally, people, if you are using these resources, if you are using Digital Foundry, Candyland, VG Tech, whatever, to actually base your decision on what to purchase for your hardware performance-wise, this makes perfect sense. And there's no beef, no problem with you whatsoever. You're a consumer looking to inform yourself in regards to what you can basically get performance-wise and bang for your buck. The same way people like that, who this video isn't against, will also be going on to multiple websites, YouTube, Wikipedia, GameStop, GameSpot as well, whatever they're using to see the history and library of games available and the upcoming ones available, because they're smart consumers and they're going to just be out there thinking, okay, if I can only buy one console, which one is the one for me? Which one is going to get me the games that I want and the library that I want, and what one is going to give me the best performance and experience in those games that I've preferred that I can get on whatever. So you people are all good. I completely support what you're doing because you're being logical. You're not being retarded. But that brings me to the next point, and this is the point that I see so much and so often, and it's just it's ridiculous at this point. Okay, so let me give you some quick examples. We have games out there that are PS4 Pro and Xbox One X enhanced. Let's look at Final Fantasy 15, for example. On PS4 Pro, the game's a mess. I should know, I have a PS4 Pro. I specifically waited to start Final Fantasy 15 until I think it was February or March, until the actual proper, well, the first proper PS4 Pro patch actually came out, because I wasn't going to play that piece of shit game at under variable under 30 frames per second. Of course, the PS4 Pro patch turned out to be a mess, as did the subsequent one after it, but you get my point. And now we have the Xbox One X version, which is basically, we'll call it slightly better, barely, And of course the Xbox One fans are going crazy and they're claiming this as a win, claiming this as the Xbox One X best thing ever 2018. Yes, I said 2018, you'll see why now in a minute. It doesn't just stop there, because in 2018 the PC version of Final Fantasy 15 is going to be coming out. This game supports up to 4K textures, the game even has official native 8K support, and because it's on PC it's going to have a proper frame rate of 60 frames per second and above with real graphical quality setting. So let me use one or two other examples real quick here as well, just their most recent and relevant ones that really drive the point home. Yes, there have been some games that have a bigger and more significant improvement. Let's say, what's Shadow of Mordor 2 called? That game anyway, Shadow of Mordor 2. The difference on that between Xbox One X and PS4 Pro is very large. It's easily noticeable. So yes, there are a few games in there that have a huge, big difference. But there's of course a couple of other differences that we'll get to now in a second, that it's kind of more of a blanket statement that I'm going to get to. But then you see other games as well. You see games like Fallout 4, which is now Xbox One X enhanced as it is PS4 Pro. And the game is what I can only call barely an improvement. It gets a relatively large resolution bump. One or two minor settings are changed, and that's about it. And the frame rate is still awful. Many people are actually reporting worse frame rate than an unpatched standard. Well, I say unpatched, but the current unenhanced patched version, there you go. The most recent base Xbox One patch version is reportedly performing better. Because developers, this was something I had a huge problem with before PS4 Pro and Xbox One came out. Developers are reaching too far and they're choosing the wrong things. They're choosing higher resolutions at the cost of what is an already terrible frame rate. And let's keep it going in the same vein as well, because I want to talk about Skyrim. Now, most recently I watched an analysis of Skyrim, Special Edition, both PS4 Pro patched and Xbox One X enhanced. And for some reason, okay, yes, there was, I believe it was one quality setting that was turned up very slightly. I think it was shadows or maybe ambient occlusion, I don't remember which off the top of my head. As well as one or two extra LOD details. Not LOD details, LOD settings, there you go. LOD distance, that's the word I was looking for. It was turned up ever so slightly, but for some reason on the vastly superior console, performance wise or hardware wise, it ran worse with a non-native 4K. Well, let me rephrase that. It ran with a native 4K with a dynamic scaler. Yet on the least powerful of the two consoles, it ran at native 4K without a dynamic scaler. And I'm not even believe it or not, this whole thing I'm talking about, I'm not even really aiming at all the quality settings, the graphical settings, whatever, because with the exception of one or two games like Shadow of Mordor 2, still can't remember the actual name of that game, you don't get a huge proper full-on step up increase like you did in that game. And it's literally come down to comment sections, tweets, videos, fucking everything, where people are proclaiming, oh, my 1 FPS more makes it better than your console. My 1 FPS more, my 10 extra progressive scan lines of resolution make it better. It's absolutely ridiculous. And these people are completely fucking idiotic. And the main reason these people need to stop watching this shit, stop spouting this shit, stop tweeting this shit, stop making the videos on this shit, it's this fucking simple. Your consoles are not a PC. Who cares if you're running at 1080p, 30 frames per second, medium settings with no frame rate drops versus the competitor's console who is running at 1080p, medium settings, drops to 28 frames per second now and again. Oh great, their console, their improved console is going to come out at 30 frames per second with 1440p and slightly better settings, but drops a bit more frames. And your one is going to come out at 1800p, drops less frames and has improved settings. Minor, very minor upgrades in the majority of these games cases. And you have people out there championing this shit like it's the second coming of Jesus. They're making it out like you're comparing an old school 2006 basic ass Wii versus a fucking high-end GTX 1080 PC. The fact is you're getting one, maybe two minor settings boosted up. Very minor settings boosted up. Maybe a little bit of a resolution increase. For some reason probably throwing a dynamic scaler. and here have a worse frame rate just to go with it. The fact is, you people who champion this shit are absolutely fucking retarded. Because here it is, people. Everyone that goes on about claiming about how they love frame rate and they frame rated this, frame rate that, and they care about frame rate is all absolutely bullshit. It's based on one simple reason. You say you care about performance and frame rate, yet you bought a fucking console. If you want proper, full, true performance or visuals or both at the same time, you don't buy a console, you buy a PC. If your claim about loving frame rate and needing frame rate and all so much is apparently so valid and actually so important to you, you would have bought a PC. Which is why these claims and people who make these claims are absolute bullshit. And they can just say, oh, I don't want a game on a PC, this, that and the other, and then spout off one of the millions and millions of lies that console fanboys actually give out to say why they don't play on PC. But it's this simple. You don't get to choose that. You don't get to make those reasons. For the simple reason is that you, if you care about the actual proper playable frame rate, you would have bought a PC. You can't say, oh, I have a console, I deserve rock solid 60 plus FPS the entire time. It's one or the fucking other. It is perfectly okay to buy a PS4 Pro and enjoy everything you play on a PS4 Pro. I'm not debating that whatsoever. It's perfectly acceptable for you to buy an Xbox One, or wait, that made no sense. It's perfectly acceptable for you to buy an Xbox One or an Xbox One X and enjoy whatever it is you have on there. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I do have is the fucking idiots out there that I have described in this video. So what? Your console drops one less frame than an alternative rival console. I hope that one extra frame was worth the €500. I speak on this whole situation as someone who has a Switch, who has an Xbox One X, a PS4 Pro, and a high-end PC. So I play it all. I play everything on whatever platform it is. And it's actually funny, I was just about to end this video, but then I saw a Steam pop up right now on my screen to see someone just start and play the game. So that reminds me of something else I saw the other day. There's someone going around lately, there's not just someone, but there's multiple people going around after some, I won't call it misinformation, but some misconstrued information. Let's use this one. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It was initially reported that the Xbox One X version would run at 60 frames per second of PlayerUnknown's Battleground, and that the base Xbox One would kind of hover in between 30 and 40 frames per second. And you have people coming out saying, oh, PC users, high-end PC users, all the top PC gamers, the PlayerUnknown's Battleground gamers, they will come out and switch to Xbox One just for this. Of course, it was later clarified that they will probably not run at 60 FPS and probably cap all versions of Xbox One at 30 frames per second. But no one is going to do that. People are not going to swap over for this kind of shit. Like between the PS4 and the Xbox One, I realize I mentioned PC a second ago, but that's beside the point. The fact is that who gives a shit if you run 2 frames per second more and 100 progressive scan lines more in resolution and 1 slightly bumped up shader or 1 slightly bumped up LOD. It doesn't fucking matter. The fact is your 60 frames per second games, the very few that you do get, are going to be a mess. Hell, the 30 frames per second games you get now are already a fucking mess. And just because you choose to let, I don't know, whatever, Phil Spencer or, shit, who's in charge of Sony? Shuhei Yoshida, unless you let either of them just smack their cock in your face, which would make you even worse. I cannot understand why people do this. I literally don't understand fanboys whatsoever. The only thing I could think of when it comes to retardedly blind fanboys is that their own sense of who they are and their personality and basically their existence and their insecurity is just tied to whatever purchase they've made, and they have to justify it lest they not exist. So like I said, it's perfectly fine to buy a PS4 or a PS4 Pro and enjoy everything you play on it. At the graphics, the quality, the frame rate of whatever that are on there. That's perfectly acceptable. No problem with that. Same with Xbox One X. It's the retards out there who want to just be stupid and fuck it up for the rest of us. Because let's face it, those people need to understand that their consoles are not PCs and they will never be PCs. Sure, they might be x86 architecture, but they're not PC performance. And let's end it on one final extra little note. All the footage you've seen in this video. Guess what you're seeing here, everybody? This will trigger the shit out of those retarded Xbox One fanboys I mentioned. But guess what? I'm getting so many things that you're not getting. I'm getting completely maxed out settings right now. I'm getting a 1440p resolution. Native 1440p resolution. And I am getting an absolutely rock solid over 100 frames per second every single second. Sure, the video only records at 60, but I've used the performance mode on Xbox One X and it is a fucking mess. And Unreal Engine 4 and Gears of War 4 run really well and scale really well. But the fact is, you're not a PC, you're not 60 frames per second fully capable. Deal with it. And were I to move to a 4K monitor, I would still get all these top quality maxed out settings with over rock solid 60 frames per second. Something your Xbox One X, and hell even my Xbox One X, cannot do. So feel free to leave all your hate comments or whatever it is in the comments section below from whatever side of it you're from. Be it if you're from the Sony side, if you're from the Microsoft side, or even if you're from the Nintendo side and angry that I left them out of the conversation. Many people will think, oh, you're just a PC master racist. No. I play consoles. I have nothing against people who primarily game on consoles. I take issue with the retards. I'm sure many of you guys out there too are also sick and tired of hearing about it. Looking in the comment section of any, whatever one of these videos that you look at, be it VG Tech or Candyland or Digital Foundry, whatever, and you just see idiots. Or you look on Twitter, or you look on Facebook, or do people still use Google Plus? Let's assume they do. You look on Google Plus and you see retarded shit everywhere. I'm sure you are just as sick of it as me. So just let me know your whole opinions on the situation and people like that in the comments section below. As well, if you remember the name of Shadow of Mordor 2, leave that in there too, just because I just can't remember it. I don't care for the game, it's not my style. But anyway, that's it. I'm out, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.